June wiped his sweaty hands on his pants. The shuttle was about to land on Valoria, a planet no human had set foot on until 3 months ago. Through the window, he saw blue mountains and silver cities that shined in the light of 2 suns. "First time off Earth?" asked Dr. Kim, the team leader. She had been on 4 alien worlds before this one. "Yes," Jun said. His heart beat fast. Years of study had led to this moment. The shuttle touched down with a soft bump. Jun was the youngest human picked to study the Valorians. He had just turned 28 last month. Most xenobiologists worked for decades before getting such a chance. "Remember," Dr. Kim said to the team of 6 humans, "we are guests here. The Valorians have rules. Do not touch them. Do not stare at their light spots. And always ask before taking samples." The door opened. Bright light and warm air rushed in. June blinked as his eyes got used to the light. Then he saw them. 20 Galorians stood in a line. They looked almost human, except for their silver-blue skin and the small patches on their bodies that glowed with soft light. These patches showed their feelings and health. June knew from his studies. The Valorians used them to talk without words. A tall male Valorian stepped forward. "I am Hack, Chief Science Officer. Welcome to Valoria." His words came through the translator pinned to June's shirt. Hack's neck patch glowed a calm green. Dr. Kim bowed. "Thank you for having us. We hope our work together will help both our peoples." June tried not to stare. The Valorians were more beautiful than the videos had shown. Their movements were smooth, like water flowing. Small dots of light moved under their skin with each breath they took. After greeting each human, Hack led them to a large building made of what looked like glass, but was stronger than steel. "This will be your home and lab," he said. "Each of you has a Valorian partner to work with." June's partner was named Ta, a serious Valorian with 3 bright patches on his arms. Ta was a biology expert who had studied human data for years. "Your cells are interesting," Ta told June as they walked to the lab. "So fragile, yet you humans live in so many harsh places." "We're tougher than we look," June said with a smile. Their lab was big, with tools June had never seen before. Screens showed moving 3D images of cells and DNA. Ta showed June how to use the tools, his light patches turning yellow with focus. "Tomorrow you will meet my daughter, Jin," Ta said. "She studies how different species talk to each other. She has many questions about humans." That night, Jun couldn't sleep. His room was nice, with a soft bed and walls that changed color to match his mood. But his mind was too busy with all he had seen. He got up and looked out the window at the Valorian city. Lights moved through the streets like rivers of stars. In just one day, he had learned so much. The Valorians had technology humans had only dreamed of. They could see inside cells as easily as humans looked through windows. They could change their own biology to fight disease. Yet they wanted to learn from humans too. Human bodies adapted quickly. Human immune systems fought off new threats in ways the Valorians couldn't. There was much for both sides to share. June smiled as he watched a flying vehicle zoom past his window. He was part of history now. What would tomorrow bring? What would Jin, the daughter of Tide, be like? With so many questions spinning in his head, June finally fell asleep as the first sun began to rise. The next evening, June stood in a large round room with tall windows. Outside, 3 moons shone in the purple sky. He wore his best suit, the one he had packed just for special events. Around him, humans and Valorians talked in small groups. "Nervous?" asked Dr. Kim, holding a glass of blue drink. "A little," June said. "I've never been to a party with aliens before." Dr. Kim smiled. "Just remember the rules. No touching. Some Valorians still think humans carry strange diseases." June nodded. He watched as Valorian servers moved through the crowd with trays of food. Their neck patches glowed a happy yellow as they worked. Then June saw Tai enter with a young female Valorian. She was shorter than most, with delicate features and silver hair that fell to her shoulders. The light patches on her arms made soft patterns as she moved. Ta waved June over. "This is my daughter, Jin," he said. "Jin, this is June, the human I told you about." Jin's eyes widened. They were deep blue with flecks of silver. "Hello," she said through her translator. "I have so many questions for you." "I'm happy to answer them," Jun said. Tai was called away by another scientist, leaving Jun and Jin alone. Unlike other Valorians who kept their distance from humans, Jin stood close to Jun. "Is it true humans can eat food that would kill Valorians?" she asked. Jun laughed. "Yes, we eat things called peppers that would make your people very sick." "Amazing." Jin's neck patch glowed bright with excitement. "And you can stay in the sun for hours without burning." "Some of us can. It depends on our skin." As they talked, Jun noticed other Valorians watching them with interest. Jin didn't seem to care. She moved her hands when she talked, pointing and making shapes to show her ideas. "I study how different beings talk to each other," Jin said. "Not just with words, but with bodies and faces. Humans use their faces so much. Like now, your eyes crinkle when you find something funny." Jun didn't know his face showed so much. "Your light patches show your feelings too," he said. "Yes, but we can control them better than you control your face," Jin said with a smile. "I've watched all the human movies we have. Earth seems so strange and wonderful." "Valoria seems wonderful to me," Jun said. "Your cities, your technology. Would you like to see more?" Jin asked. "I could show you the old city tomorrow. It's filled with our history." "I'd like that," Jun said. Jin grew excited. "There's an old story hall where the walls show our past, and a garden with plants from all over Valoria. And—" She moved her arm quickly to point at something, and her hand brushed against Jun's. It was just a small touch, the side of her finger against his hand for less than a second. But it was enough. The small patch at the base of Jin's neck, one Jun hadn't noticed before, suddenly lit up with a bright blue light. It pulsed and glowed stronger than any other patch Jun had seen. The room went quiet. All the Valorians stared at Jin. Some gasped. Tai, across the room, dropped his glass. It shattered on the floor. Jin's face changed color, turning darker blue. She put her hand over the glowing patch, but the light shone between her fingers. I need to go," she whispered. Before Jun could say anything, she turned and rushed from the room. Dr. Kim appeared at Jun's side. Her face was serious. "What happened?" "I don't know," Jun said. "We were just talking." And then Tai was walking toward them. His face was hard, and the patches on his arms glowed an angry red. "What did you do to my daughter?" he demanded. "Nothing. We were just talking," Jun said, stepping back from Tai's angry face. Dr. Kim moved between them. "Let's all calm down. What happened, Tai?" Tai's red patches pulsed with strong light. "This human has triggered a mating response in my daughter. This is not possible. It should not happen." "A mating response?" Dr. Kim asked, her voice quiet but firm. "The blue light on her neck," Ta said, his voice shaking. "It only glows when a Valorian meets their perfect genetic match. It has never, never, happened with an alien species before." Other Valorians gathered around. Some looked angry, others curious. Jun felt his face grow hot as everyone stared at him. "It was just a small touch," Jun said. Her hand brushed mine for less than a second. "That is all it takes," said an older Valorian with white hair. She stepped forward. "I am Ray, the chief medical officer. This matter now requires scientific study." "Study?" Tai's voice rose. "No, the human must leave Valoria at once. This is contamination of our genetics." Dr. Kim straightened her back. "That's an extreme reaction, Ta. No one has been harmed. If anything, this is an important scientific discovery." "Discovery?" Ta laughed without humor. My daughter is now marked as one who matches with an alien. Do you know what that means for her life here? For her future? Jun wished he could disappear. He had not meant to cause trouble. I'm sorry if I did something wrong. Rai put her hand on Ta's arm. We must follow protocol. The council must be told. And yes, tests must be done. What kind of tests? Dr. Kim asked. Blood samples, genetic scans. We must understand why this human triggered a response that should only happen between Valorians. Tae turned away. I will find Jin. She is surely upset. After Tae left, the party slowly went back to normal, though many Valorians kept their distance from Jun. Dr. Kim led him to a quiet corner. This is a complex situation, she said, but not necessarily bad. Tae thinks it's bad, Jun said. Tae is a father who just saw his daughter experience something unexpected. Give him time. The next morning, Jun was called to the medical center. Jin was already there, sitting on a white bench. She looked up when Jun entered, then quickly looked down again. The blue patch at her neck still glowed faintly. Jin, I'm sorry about what happened, Jun said. It's not your fault, she said quietly. Neither of us knew this could happen. Rai entered with Tae and Dr. Kim. We will begin the tests now, Rai said. First, we need blood from both of you. As a medical worker took his blood, Jun asked, what does this mating indicator really mean? Rai answered while Tae stayed silent. It means your genetics somehow fit with Jin's in a way our bodies recognize as optimal for creating strong offspring. It has only ever happened between Valorians before. But humans and Valorians can't have children together, Jun said, confused. Exactly, Rai said, looking at the blood sample with interest, which makes this very strange indeed. Jin finally spoke up. Everyone at school is talking about me. Some won't sit near me at meals. They say I'm tainted now. Tae's angry expression softened as he looked at his daughter. This is why I want the human gone. To protect you. But what if this means something important? Jin asked. What if there's a reason his genetics match mine? Rai nodded. Jin asks good questions. This could tell us something new about both our species. Tae crossed his arms. I have asked the council to send the humans home. We will know their decision tomorrow. As Jun and Jin exchanged worried looks, Dr. Kim said firmly, and we will present our case for continuing the research mission. This discovery could benefit both our peoples. Jun hoped she was right. He didn't want to leave Valoria, or Jin, just when things were getting interesting. The council room was large and round. 7 older Valorians sat at a curved table. Their skin had more light patches than younger Valorians. These patches changed colors as they listened to Ta speak. We must protect our genetic purity, Ta said. Send the humans home. Dr. Kim stepped forward. The reaction between Jin and Jun is a scientific mystery worth studying. It may help both our peoples understand each other better. The head of the council, an old female named Nari, raised her hand. We have heard both sides. Our decision is this. The humans may stay, but there must be a full study of this strange response. Tae's face darkened, but he bowed to accept the ruling. The next day, Jun and Jin sat in a white room. Screens showed pictures of their blood and cells. Ray moved her hands over a clear panel, zooming in on different parts of the images. Look at this, Rai said. This pattern in Jun's DNA is not in our records of other humans. It is similar to a rare Valorian pattern. What does that mean? Jin asked. She wore a scarf around her neck to hide her still glowing blue patch. It means Jun's genetics are unusual. Special, Rai said. We need more tests. For the next week, Jun and Jin spent hours each day in the lab. They gave more blood samples. They breathed into tubes that measured things in their breath. They sat in machines that scanned their whole bodies. Between tests, they talked. Jin told Jun about growing up on Valoria, about the games she played as a child, about her dreams of visiting other worlds. Have Valorians met other aliens besides humans? Joan asked one day. Jin looked down. Yes, but we don't talk about them much. It was long ago, before I was born. What happened? It didn't go well. That's all I know. My father won't tell me more. As they spent more time together, Joan noticed that Jin's blue patch glowed brighter when he was near. She stopped trying to hide it with scars. Does it bother you? He asked. Not anymore, she said. I'm more interested in why it happens. No one else's patch has ever lit up for someone from another world. One morning, Min, another human scientist, came to see Joan at breakfast. I found something weird in the old data they gave us, Min said. There are gaps in the Valorian history records, big gaps around the time they first went to space. Maybe they lost the records, Joan said. Min shook his head. No, I think someone deleted them. I asked my Galorian partner about it, and she got nervous and changed the subject. Later that day, Ray called June and Jin to her private lab. She closed the door and spoke quietly. I have found something, she said. Look at these cell samples. On the screen, they saw two cells side by side. This is a special kind of Valorian cell, Rai said, pointing to one. And this is June's cell. Watch what happens when I add this chemical. Both cells glowed with the same blue light. Only perfect genetic matches react this way, Rai said. But that should be impossible between different species. Unless we're not as different as we thought, Jin said slowly. Rai nodded. Exactly. I checked the deep genetic archives. There is an old theory that Valorians and the beings of the third planet, what you call Earth, might share ancient ancestors. That's a big deal, Joan said. Why isn't this common knowledge? Rai looked at the door nervously. Some people, powerful people, don't want this idea explored. They think it weakens Valorian identity. She looked at Jin. Your father is one of them. Jin's patches pulsed with surprise. My father knows about this. Yes, Rai said, and he will not be happy that I told you. Jin walked through the learning center where she studied. Other students moved away as she passed. Some pointed at her neck, where the blue light still glowed softly. Alien lover, someone whispered. Jin held her head high and kept walking. She was used to this now, after 2 weeks of tests and whispers. At a table in the corner, she sat alone with her study screen. A message flashed. Meet me at the old cave paintings. Important. June. Jin looked around. No one was watching her. She slipped out of the learning center and took a sky transport to the edge of the city. The cave was in the hills, a place tourists visited to see ancient Valorian art. It was almost empty today. Jin found Jun waiting with Min near the back of the main cave. What's so important? Jin asked. This, Min said, pointing to a painting on the stone wall. Look closely. The painting showed tall blue figures, ancient Valorians, standing with other figures. These other figures were shorter, with no light patches, and pink-brown skin. They look like humans, Jin said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Exactly, Jun said. These paintings are over 10,000 years old. How could they show humans if our people never met before last year? Jin touched the painting. My father said the first contact with aliens went badly. He meant humans, didn't he? We think so, Min said. But there's more. We found old stories, hidden in the public records but easy to miss. They talk about the Star Brothers who came from the skies, lived with Valorians for many years, then left after a great fight. Jin's patches pulsed with excitement and worry. If this is true, humans and Valorians met long ago. Maybe we even shared DNA, Jun finished. It would explain why your mating indicator responded to me. Jin looked around to make sure they were alone. My mother runs the history archives. I can use her codes to look for more information. That night, Jin waited until her parents were asleep. She went to her mother's workstation and used the special access codes. The screen lit up with old files her regular account couldn't see. She searched for humans, and found nothing. Then she tried Star Brothers. The screen filled with ancient reports and images. One report made her gasp. It showed DNA patterns labeled mixed offspring. There were pictures of children with blue-tinted skin but no light patches. Half human, half Valorian children. Jin copied the files to a small device. As she finished, the lights came on. Her father stood in the doorway. "What are you doing?" Tai asked, his patches glowing angry red. "Learning the truth," Jin said. "Humans and Valorians have met before. They even had children together. Why hide this?" Tai's face hardened. "Because it nearly destroyed us. The mixing of our species caused fighting, disease, and pain. The council of that time voted to remove all trace of humans from our world and our records. But my mating indicator is a mistake, a leftover reaction from our shared past. It means nothing." Jin stood up. "It means something to me. And to science. Why work with humans now if our past with them was so bad?" "Because we need their medical knowledge," Ta said. "But that doesn't mean we should repeat old mistakes." The next day, Jun found Jin waiting outside his lab. Her patches showed sadness. "What's wrong?" he asked. "My father has called for a special council meeting. He wants to end all testing on our compatibility and send you home early. Can he do that?" Jin nodded. "He has new allies. A group called Pure Valoria is gaining power. They say contact with humans will weaken our society." "What about the evidence we found? The cave paintings? The old files?" "My father says they prove his point, that mixing our peoples once brought trouble." Jin's hand moved close to Jun's but stopped just before touching. "We need to find more proof that our connection is good, not bad. And quickly. We need to find the temple," Jin said as she and Jun walked quickly through the quiet morning streets. Min followed close behind, carrying a small bag. "Are you sure it exists?" Jun asked. "The files you found only mentioned it once. My mother told me stories about it when I was small. I thought they were just old tales. The Temple of the Stars, where our ancestors spoke with beings from the sky. They reached the edge of the city where buildings gave way to wild forests. Jin led them up a narrow path that climbed into the hills. "The council meeting is tomorrow," Min said. "If we don't find something good by then, they'll probably send us home." After an hour of hiking, they reached a clearing. Old stone columns stood in a circle. Vines covered most of them, but Jin ran to one and began pulling the plants away. "Help me," she said. "There should be writing under here." The three worked quickly, clearing vines from the stones. Strange symbols appeared, carved deep into the rock. "Can you read this?" Jun asked. "It's very old Valorian," Jin said. "Parts of it, at least. This symbol means stars. This one means brothers or family." Min walked around the circle, taking pictures of each column. "There's something here," he called from the far side. "A door, I think." Hidden among the trees behind the columns was a stone doorway set into the hillside. Vines had grown thick across it. They pulled them away to find a door with no handle. "How do we open it?" Jun asked. Jin studied the door. "There's a small hole here." She pressed her finger against it. Nothing happened. "Let me try," Jun said. When he pushed his finger into the hole, there was a click. The door slid open a few inches. "It responded to you," Jin said, eyes wide. "It must be reading your DNA somehow." They pushed the door open and stepped into darkness. Min turned on a light. The beam showed a long hallway leading deep into the hill. "I don't like this," Min said. "What if we get trapped?" "We have to know the truth," Jin said, her patches glowing with determination. At the end of the hall was a round room. When they entered, lights came on by themselves. The walls were covered with moving pictures, old Valorian technology that still worked after thousands of years. The images showed Valorians and humans working together, building cities, studying the stars. Some pictures showed families with both kinds of people. Children with mixed features played together. It's a history record, Jin whispered. Proof that our people lived in peace once. In the center of the room was a stone table. On it lay an old metal box. Jun approached it carefully. "Should I open it?" he asked. Jin nodded. Jun lifted the lid to find a small device inside. When he picked it up, it glowed with blue light, the same color as Jin's mating patch. "It's a message keeper," Jin said. "Very old technology. It can store voices and images for thousands of years." She took the device and pressed a small button. A voice filled the room, speaking Old Valorian that Jin struggled to understand. "What's it saying?" Min asked. "It's a message from the past," Jin said slowly. "It says, 'To our children's children, we leave this record so you will know the truth. Humans and Valorians are one family, seated on two worlds by the same creators. Our bodies are different, but our essence is the same. The light that shows our perfect matches will sometimes bridge our worlds, as it was meant to do." Jun looked at Jin's glowing patch. "So the mating indicator isn't a mistake. It's working exactly as it should, even between our species." Jin nodded, her patches pulsing with bright colors. "This proves everything. We have to show the council before my father convinces them to send you away." As they gathered their evidence, none of them noticed the small camera hidden in the corner of the room, sending images back to someone watching from the city. When Jin, Jun, and Min returned to the city, they found guards waiting for them. The guards wore the red bands of the security force on their arms. "Jin, daughter of Tai, you must come with us," the lead guard said. His patches glowed orange with official duty. "Why? What's wrong?" Jin asked. "Your father has called for you. The humans must return to their quarters." Jin looked at Jun with worry in her eyes. "Keep the message device safe," she whispered. "I'll meet you before the council hearing tomorrow." The guards took Jin away in one direction, while other guards escorted Jun and Min back to the human living area. There, they found Dr. Kim talking with two Valorian officials. "What happened?" Dr. Kim asked when she saw them. "We found proof," Min said quietly. "Humans and Valorians share the same creators. We were meant to be compatible." Dr. Kim looked at the officials, then back at Min. "Tell me later. Right now, we have trouble. Ta has filed a formal complaint. He says Jun has interfered with his daughter and broken Valorian cultural rules." "That's not true," Jun said. "It gets worse," Dr. Kim said. "He claims you used human DNA tools to make Jin's mating indicator respond to you. He says it's all fake." Jun couldn't believe it. "That's impossible. I wouldn't even know how to do that." "Ta has powerful friends," one of the officials said. His name was Da, and he had always been friendly to the humans. "They want an excuse to end the research project. This gives them one." "We have proof that he's wrong," Jun said. "We found an ancient temple with records of humans and Valorians together in the past." Day's patches flickered with surprise. "The Temple of the Stars. It's real." "Yes, and we have a message from our ancestors there." Jun showed him the small device they had found. "This could change everything," Dai said. "But be careful. Tai and his pure Valoria friends won't give up easily." That night, Jun couldn't sleep. He worried about Jin. Had her father locked her away? Would she be punished for helping them? A soft knock came at his door. He opened it to find Ri, the medical officer. "Jin sent me," Rai said. "Her father has her under house watch, but she told me about the temple and what you found." "Will you help us?" Jun asked. "Yes, I've always believed our peoples were connected. That's why I studied the old genetic records." Rai looked around nervously. "But you should know that Tai has called for tests on your DNA. He claims you have changed it somehow to trick the mating response." "That's crazy. How could I do that?" "He says human science is capable of it. He's telling people you want to mix our species again and bring back the troubles of the past." "What troubles? What really happened back then?" Jun asked. Ri's patches dimmed. When humans and Valorians mixed long ago, some Valorians feared losing our special traits, our light patches, our long lives. A group called the Purists started attacking mixed families. There was fighting, killing. The council finally voted to separate our peoples completely. Humans returned to Earth, and we erased much of the history. And now Todd wants to keep that history buried, Jun said. Yes, he leads the new Purists. If they win, all humans will be sent away from Valoria forever. In the morning, Jun met with Dr. Kim and the human team. He showed them the message device and told them everything. The council hearing is in 3 hours, Dr. Kim said. We need to prepare our case carefully. But will they even let us speak? Min asked. Ta has a lot of power. We have one advantage, Dr. Kim said with a small smile. The head of the council, Nari, has always supported scientific truth, no matter how uncomfortable. If we can show her this evidence, she might listen. Jun nodded. I hope Jin will be there. We found this truth together. We should present it together. As they prepared for the hearing, none of them knew that Tai was making his own plans to make sure that would never happen. The council chamber was filled with Valorians. At the front, 7 council members sat in a half-circle. Nari, with her white hair and calm blue patches, sat in the middle. Ta stood at a speaker's place, his patches glowing red and orange with strong feelings. The humans have gone too far, he said. They have used their science to trick our biology. They want to mix our people again, to water down our pure Valorian blood. Jun sat with Dr. Kim and the human team. He looked around but did not see Jin anywhere. Where is she? He whispered to Min. I don't know. No one has seen her since yesterday. Nari raised her hand. We will now hear from the humans. Dr. Kim walked to the speaker's place. We have made an important discovery, she said. Evidence that humans and Valorians were always meant to be compatible. We found this in the Temple of the Stars. Whispers filled the room. Many Valorians had thought the temple was just a story. Dr. Kim showed the message device. This contains a recording from our shared ancestors. It proves that humans and Valorians are one family, seated on 2 different worlds. Lies, Ta shouted. They made this fake evidence to trick us. Let us hear the message, Neri said. Dr. Kim pressed the button, but nothing happened. She tried again. Still nothing. It worked yesterday, Jun said. Ta smiled. See, their proof is nothing but a broken toy. Someone broke it, Min said quietly to Jun. Someone who doesn't want the truth known. Neri looked at Dr. Kim. Do you have any other evidence? Before Dr. Kim could answer, the doors at the back of the room opened. Jin walked in, her head held high. Guards tried to stop her, but she pushed past them. I have evidence, Jin said, her voice strong. All eyes turned to her. Her father's face showed shock, then anger. Jin, go home now, Tai ordered. No, father. The council must hear the truth. Jin walked to the front of the room. She stood before the council and looked at each member. You all know what this is, she said, pointing to the blue patch on her neck. A mating indicator. It shows when a Valorian meets their perfect genetic match. Your indicator was tricked by human science, Ta said. Jin shook her head. No, it is working exactly as it should. As it was designed to thousands of years ago when our peoples were one. She turned to Jun. Come here, please. Jun walked to her side, nervous with so many eyes on them. The message device was damaged, Jin said. But I don't need it to show you the truth. She turned to face Jun. Slowly, she reached out her hand. Jun understood and held out his own hand. Their fingers touched. The blue patch on Jin's neck glowed brighter than ever before, but something else happened too. A spot on Jun's neck, in the same place as Jin's patch, began to glow with the same blue light. Gasps filled the room. Even Ta had no words. This is impossible, Rai said, stepping forward. Humans don't have light patches. Most don't, Jin said. But some, like June, carry the old genes from our shared past, hidden, waiting to be awakened. She turned to the council. You can test his DNA. You'll find the same patterns that exist in Valorians, not because he changed himself, but because we were always the same family. She's right, Rai said, her scientific mind working quickly. The tests we did showed unusual patterns in his DNA. This would explain it. Neri looked at Ta. Is this why you tried to rush us to a decision? Because you knew the truth might come out. Tay's patches dimmed. For the first time, he seemed to have no answer. Jin faced her father. I know you think you're protecting our people, but hiding the truth has only hurt us. It's time to remember who we really are, two branches of the same family tree. The room was silent as everyone waited for the council's response. 6 months later, Jun stood on a wide balcony overlooking the new research center. The building was beautiful, with curved walls that caught the light of Valoria's two suns. On the front, two symbols sat side by side, the star pattern of Earth and the light pattern of Valoria. It's finally ready, Jin said, joining him at the railing. Her blue mating patch still glowed softly when she was near him. In the months since the council hearing, she had stopped trying to hide it. Instead, she wore clothes that left it visible, a quiet statement about her beliefs. The Joint Species Research Institute, Jun said. I never thought we'd see this day. After the dramatic council meeting, things had moved quickly. Nari and the council had voted to create a special place where humans and Valorians could study their shared past and work together on new science. They had picked Jin and Jun to lead the genetic research team. My father is coming to the opening ceremony tomorrow, Jin said. Jun looked surprised. Really? I thought he was still against all this. He's changing. Slowly. Jin smiled. After the truth came out, he had to think about many things. He spent time in the Temple of the Stars, reading the old records we found. In the months since the hearing, repair teams had fixed the temple. The message device now worked again. Many Valorians had visited to learn about their true history. How many compatible pairs have we found now? Jun asked. 12, Jin said. All humans with the special gene markers like yours. The blue patch appears on them when they meet their Valorian match. Below them, in the research center garden, a human woman was talking with a Valorian male. Both had the soft blue glow on their necks. Not everyone is happy about it, Jin said. Some still think we should stay separate. Change takes time, Jun said. But now people have a choice based on truth, not fear. They walked inside to their new lab. Pictures of DNA patterns covered the walls. One screen showed a family tree with branches for both humans and Valorians, all coming from the same roots. Dr. Kim sent a message, Jun said. 10 more human scientists are coming next month, and Earth wants to create a research center there too, for Valorians who want to visit. Will you go back to show them around? Jin asked. Only if you come with me. I want to show you Earth. The oceans, the forests, the cities. Jin's patches glowed with happy colors. I would like that. They worked together for hours, studying the new samples from volunteers. Since the council had approved their research, many humans and Valorians had offered to help by giving blood and tissue for study. That evening, they sat on the roof of the research center, watching the 3 moons rise. Reed joined them, bringing hot drinks. The council approved the new exchange program. Rai said, next year, young Valorians can study on Earth, and human students can come here. My father said it won't work, Jin said, but I think it will. Look how much we've learned from each other already. Jun touched the spot on his neck that now glowed blue when he was near Jin. At first, it had scared him. Now it felt natural, like a part of himself he had never known was there. What do you think our ancestors would say if they could see us now? He asked. I think they would be happy, Jin said. This is what they wanted. Their children finding each other again across the stars. As night fell, More people joined them on the roof, humans and Valorians together, talking, laughing, sharing stories. Some were scientists, others were visitors curious about the project. Jin's hand found Jun's in the growing darkness. For a moment, both their patches glowed brighter. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly, "we've already changed history. Our peoples are talking again after thousands of years apart." Jun looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his first home. But here, on Valoria, he had found another kind of home, and a future he had never imagined possible.